This bothers me, man, and it's just because
a lot of things bother you.
It does, but I'm just biased because I'm a fan of both of these gentlemen. The conversation that popped up a while back, but BINK recently popped out, and he's still mad about.
I watched part of that video.
People stealing his style, quote unquote, and he's speaking about Just Blaze. He said his legacy's being played with. He said Just Blaze is a copycat, and he needs to just embrace it.
This is on the Math Hoffa.
Math Hoffa, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Math Hoffa podcast or show, whatever you want to call it. And he said something that stuck out to me. He said, if you're an artist, and this is him talking to obviously the whole crew. He said, if you're an artist and you have your art there and somebody just traces over that art, does that make the person that traced around what you did an artist? Some people, it was like 50-50 on the responses. They were like, technically, I mean, he made his own interpretation of it, and that might make him an artist. Others were like, nah, you just a copycat. And that's basically how he described Just Blaze, because he talked about old interviews in the early days where Rockefeller was describing Just Blaze as kind of like a chameleon. He can produce in any type, sound like Swiss Beats.
Just Blaze is fire though. I ain't gonna sit there.
I'm a fan of Just Blaze.
Like he ain't good.
But
when you put it in those terms, as far as tracing somebody's work,
right?
I mean, technically, that's plagiarism.
That's what BINK was
Well, there's
saying.
levels of it.
Yeah.
That's why I want to ask you, Lone, as a producer, when we talk about the versatility part, to me, that's always been a good thing. Now, I think there's levels because there's a difference between being versatile and just blatantly biting multiple or different types of producers. But as it relates to that, just that comment about, because you said there's levels, the comment about the tracing over and Just Blaze being versatile, is that necessarily a bad thing? Because a lot of the comments, people were saying BINK is just in his feelings because...
So here's what I would say.
Because I kind of feel him, no Lone.
No, I get it. And
I feel him.
No, I get it. So
you think about that sound.
Well, here's what I would say. One of the most important... Has anybody here read Steal Like an Artist? The book?
Mm-mm.
I have not.
It's a great book.
He lying.
It's a great book. A lot of creatives have... It kind of deals with this idea. And so there's a difference between like plagiarism and stealing is the whole premise, right?
Right.
And where do I want to start with this? All right. So I think a natural process of anybody that is a creative that is learning something is stealing. It's finding somebody you like, finding things that you like, doing it your own way. Part of that is emulation. I remember the very first rap that I ever memorized was Jay-Z and JD's Money Ain't a Thing. Mm-hmm. Wrote every lyric down and, studied it, right? The first beats that I was making was like emulating the stuff that I was listening to at the time, trying to make my stuff. I remember there was a time when I was trying to sound like Premier because I was trying to figure out what he was doing to make his stuff sound the way it did, right? What happens, and I think is going to happen more so often. Now, granted, we're talking like late 90s, 2000s with this conversation, right?
Right.
I think there's a time period where an artist is still learning to where like if they get pushed to a specific level while they're still in that phase of finding who they are artistically, you're going to experience a lot of that. And so is it bad? Is it wrong? I don't know. I'm not honestly, I'm not really here for did Just Blaze do it intentionally? Probably not.
That is the part. Yes.
He probably didn't do it intentionally.
That's the part.
He probably heard some stuff from BINK. He probably picked up some stuff from this person and was like, cool, I'm going to turn this into whatever sound it is or whatever. He is kind of a chameleon, but Just Blaze does have a specific type of sound that he eventually, we know Just Blaze sound.
Oh, he definitely honed his sound.
Now, does he sound exactly like BINK? No, but he does they sound similar.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like Timbaland. Timbaland has his own sound.
That's the point BINK made. BINK said, go listen to...
Swiss Beats sounds, his own way.
Hola Ovito. He's like, that don't sound nothing like the rest of the beats on the album. He's right. It doesn't.
Who produced that one?
That's Timbo. So he's saying that to say, when you see these people, Pharrell, he's like, when you hear Pharrell beat, there's no question that's Pharrell. He was like, but back in this era, he felt like Just Blaze was, maybe it wasn't to his knowing, but he feels like it was. Like you blatantly were biting my style and using that to, get closer to Hov. And Math Hoffa made a good point. He was like, man, but if Just Blaze is a kid that's trying to get his break, and the greatest rapper alive is like, yo, whatever you're doing, keep doing that. What is he supposed to do?
Exactly what he did.
Exactly. Right.
So what give me a specific example of a Just Blaze track that sounds like a BINK track?
I'm trying to think of something that would be close.
I don't know. They do sound similar though.
Yeah,
I don't. I couldn't give you something, but
I have to go back and listen.
I'd have to go back and listen to the
compare.
track list comparatively. But
Yeah, because I want to do that too. Because I've never personally felt like I heard BINK when I've heard.
I'll tell you an
Just
example.
Blaze.
I'll tell you an example. Go listen to Philadelphia Freeway. Just
Okay.
Blaze has the majority of the production on that project.
Good project.
Damn good project. One of my favorite Rockefeller releases. That production style, when you listen to All My Life. Wait a minute.
Okay, you know what? All My Life does kind of.
Let me double check because I can't remember if BINK.
That's the song with him and
that beat is
Nate
crazy,
Dogg.
by the way. Yeah,
That
Nate's
does
on the-
kind of sound like a BINK.
But let me
type
double
beat.
check because I don't want to because BINK I think BINK had production on there as well. Go ahead, Lone. I'm sorry.
To BINK's defense here, is he holding on to something maybe that he shouldn't be holding on to?
I think
20 years later?
Yes.
Yes, probably. But
yes.
But for his to his defense, I would say that
Oh, that
I didn't
is
even know.
produced by BINK.
Yeah, BINK did that one. Okay.
They
I
did
didn't-
what?
But
That's
I-
why it sounds like a BINK beat.
But I
All
thought
My
in-
Life was produced
in
by
my
BINK.
mind, I'm thinking just not, and this is just subconsciously, I'm thinking Just Blaze could have done that beat to the point that he's talking about. But go ahead, Lone. I'm sorry. I
No,
want
that's
to cut you.
essentially what I was going to say. So I mean, I didn't even realize that BINK was all over a lot of this early stuff. I thought it was just Blaze.
See? Yeah, BINK.
You know,
BINK is a monster now on his own.
Just Blaze had some of the bigger hits.
Yeah, but you know, like which song? Like,
did.
but when you hear What We Do,
Mm-hmm.
that's Just Blaze, correct?
Yeah.
Sure is.
That doesn't sound like a BINK beat to me.
Sure doesn't.
You know,
So I think Just Blaze is a chameleon to an extent, but I think he found his
found his
sound.
pocket.
Found his sound. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's anything wrong with being super versatile. But the thing is it's kind of expected that you need to have a specific sound. That way people can recognize you.
I mean, all of the people that we
And
admire.
which, again, to circle it back around, that kind of goes to Steal Like an Artist a little bit.
well, also are all of you guys sampling? So if you're all sampling,
That's kind of the pot calling the kettle black.
Don't
But-
these people have? They're like, hey, you want to talk about emulating styles and taking pieces of this here?
But
Here you go.
BINK said, he said even down to the types of records that they were sampling.
Well,
He says
samples. Well, see, that's the thing.
don't own
that,
no loops. Guru told you that.
Kanye was trying to dig at Just Blaze for that same type thing as far as choosing the soul samples.
Okay.
Oh,
But
I'm sorry.
to
The same
me-
thing that RZA used to
Right,
do, and
right.
then countless other people did before
But
him.
the way that he used them weren't the same way that Kanye West was using them. He wasn't necessarily speeding up the soul sample. He was using soul samples. I mean, you can't just say, I'm the only one out here that can use soul samples. So if anybody uses a soul sample, then you're biting off me.
I tell you what, if you feel like somebody's biting off of you and you think, oh, they're jocking your style, you know, I'm taking us back to the old school with that. You better show and prove, because like all I know is Just Blaze did some of my favorite Jay-Z, Free,
Period.
all those stuff, all that
Period.
stuff he did for Diplomatic Immunity. Those,
Usher.
yeah, those songs are legendary.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge BINK saying these things, but Just
Matt-
Blaze put in the work. It's not like he started stealing
I agree with
the
that.
discs.
I agree
He
with that.
used your MP3 to bang out stuff and took
agree
your
with
sound library. He figured it out and found a way to make incredible records on his own.
Now,
But
He
you know,
didn't
like
steal
what-
a beat from him and emulate it to the point where it sounds like you having a personal example of somebody
Man.
taking a beat from you
yeah.
and making it again, and you
Yep.
can tell that it has the same,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying, energy that yours had.
Yep.
I don't hear a Just Blaze beat that has done that as far as when it comes
have you
to
guys ever seen the movie Copyright Criminals?
Yeah.
Like I
don't
think
I've seen
about
that.
whenever we have these conversations about sampling and and styles, it reminds me of something Shock G said.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's
So-
actually
Oh,
free
for
on
real?
YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, look, someone could, I couldn't remember example. I think it was like an apple or flowers, and could paint a beautiful picture, you know, break out the paintbrush and the, watercolors and paint this, incredible picture of a subject. Or someone could take a photograph. Now they have to get the composition right, the lighting, they have to make sure they have the right lens.
Yep.
And take a picture of this apple and make it still look beautiful. Who am I to say if the person who took the picture of the apple, that's less beautiful than the person who painted the apple? So
BINK will be like, nah.
Be like, no, you had to paint the apple, son.
Yeah.
But again, this goes back. Okay, let me go a little bit deeper in this. Steal like the artist idea was based upon that there's no original ideas. So
we've heard that a lot. Yep.
There are no. Everything is like an interpretation, and you're taking it and you're adapting it to some different way. Like so, Just Blaze, yeah, BINK's dope. Took some of BINK. Probably took some of somebody else. Probably took somebody, and created whoever he is. So yeah, there's probably truth in that, but BINK didn't just randomly get his style from out of thin air from God. Right. Like it came from somebody in other things as well.
He said, now here's what he said, and he wanted to make sure it would be known. Math asked him about, well, who were your influences when you first came up? Who did you start listening to? So he mentioned Q-Tip. He was like, Q-Tip would be a person I would have said.
Right, but I don't sound anything like Q-Tip is what he said, right?
Right, but he's like, had he sounded like Q-Tip, he would have been like, yeah, my style comes from Q-Tip. He would have openly said
So he's more so upset that Just Blaze isn't giving him credit.
I think it's about the flowers. I really think it's about him getting his flowers. You know what I'm saying? I think now, this has been a long time, like you said. So, I mean, does that change anything? Probably not. But clearly, it's still in his mind that he hasn't
gonna get him
got
now.
his flowers.
That's a wrap.
You're sitting in the barbershop talking bad about somebody,
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, you ain't getting them flowers
Yeah,
now.
good luck with that, man. I think it might be a wrap. Plus, Just Blaze will probably take the high road. Yeah, the high road and just bow out. I think he released.
It's like he ain't saying nothing about Kanye saying something.
I think he posted an Instagram post, but everything was like, man, look, I ain't about to go down this road. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not about to do this. It's cool, whatever. That's his opinion, blah, blah, blah. Got up out of there from what I remember. So, but I mean, it's as the creative, man, when you get quote unquote burned, like it stings. I will say that.
I think the difference here though is there's a difference between stealing, which and how we define it, right? Stealing is like stealing ideas, taking ideas, making your own thing out of it. Like, cool, Terry has a great idea. I'm going to take that. I'm going to flip it my own way. Right. As opposed to, I'm going to do exactly what Terry was doing.
Carbon copy.
It's like plagiarism.
Yeah.
Literally what we learned, like citing your sources.